let's bring in our next speaker. Really excited to have Callie Broaddus joining us. She is the Executive Director of Reserva, the Youth Land Trust. So this organization is bridging the gap between youth activism and biodiversity conservation. They have an amazing initiative right now to create the world's first entirely youth-funded nature reserve in the Ecuador's Chocó cloud rainforest. She's a photographer, a youth leader, and a lifelong conservationist, and she was just named as one of the Explorers Club 50. So 50 people changing the world that you should know about. Explorers Club is one of our partner groups helping us out with the festival. We have 3 amazing hosts joining us. We've been hosting incredible Explorers Club members and fellows as well. I'm going to bring Callie in now. Callie, it is so great to have you joining us live today.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here. And I'm just wondering, my internet has been really patchy. Can you hear me?
We've got you loud and clear. I saw you drop out at the beginning, but you're back. And, you know, we were in the Seychelles. We were just in Zambia. Let's cross our fingers and hope we can get a good connection for this one as well.
All right. Well, let's give it a go. Well,
Callie,
thank you so much for having me on this festival. All right. Well, so my name is Callie Broaddus, and as Joe said, I'm the founder and executive director of an organization called Reserva, the Youth Land Trust. But before I get into what we do, I thought I would just step backward and tell you a little bit about why I do it. So I'm going to go ahead and share, and hopefully we get this stuff up. Let's see. Share your screen. Oh, cool. All right. So I don't know if Joe can give me a thumbs up here that you can see this or not, but this is me with my brother and my little sister growing up. I grew up in Warrenton, Virginia, which is this really rural, very small town in about an hour west of DC, and I was a complete nature nut. Just always spending every day outside in the woods, and my sister was the same. And I grew up, you know, taking photos and ultimately became a wildlife photographer, and went around the world taking pictures of leopards, and this is geometric tortoise, which I learned there were only 800 of them left in the world. So I wound up getting involved in conservation. I went to architecture school and then wound up at National Geographic designing kids' books. And I'm going to rush through this part because it's much less fun than where I wound up. But I started working with Rainforest Trust, which is this organization out of Virginia, and they work to protect some of the wildest places around the world, critical habitat for endangered species. And they took me to this spot here, where it's called the Geometric Tortoise Preserve. And I learned that there were only 800 of these animals left. And I realized how could we have gotten here to this point where a whole species is consigned to one little spot on the globe. And it's just a couple acres, maybe like 700 acres, something like that. And you know, that really disturbed me. It's something that I've cared about my whole life, and has kind of always been in the back of my mind. And then about 7 years ago, something happened when I was working at National Geographic. My little sister, who's you saw here, when she was 17 years old, she was diagnosed with a rare and aggressively fatal cancer. And she also had been on this journey with me, you know, growing up in the woods, and had always loved nature. And she was a passionate advocate for climate change action. And when she was diagnosed with cancer, she decided that she wanted to do something about her passion and use what time she had left to both fight for herself to extend her life as long as possible, but also to do something for climate change. So she decided to start a fund and ask people who she knew if they would be willing to contribute to her dream of raising $18,000 by her 18th birthday. She thought that could be something that, you know, she could really make a difference. And when her 18th birthday arrived, we had 430 donations that totaled up to nearly $70,000. And this made her realize that, you know, she could make a huge lasting impact. And she wound up giving a total of nearly $100,000. She raised nearly $100,000 over the course of that last couple months, and giving out grants to organizations that were particularly effective at fighting climate change. And now the organization has kept growing and has given out nearly $250,000 in grants to organizations fighting climate change. So this was something that had a profound impact on me, of course, and really kind of cleared my my path forward. And I knew, I didn't want to do kids' books anymore. Didn't want to do architecture. I just wanted to make sure that I could help kind of achieve her dream, work toward climate action, toward preserving species like that geometric tortoise. And it just sort of gave me a laser focus that I wanted to find more kids like Finley who cared about the planet and wanted to do something to protect it. And it also taught me that young people have immense financial power that isn't being recognized. I think a few years after this, we started seeing Greta Thunberg speaking at Davos, and we started seeing the climate strikes and marches in the street, and a huge recognition that young people have a voice that's worth listening to. But in my work with Rainforest Trust and with other conservation organizations, I didn't see a huge effort to reach out to those young people as a serious class of donors, as people who could really contribute in a direct and meaningful way, like adults. And in my mind, Finley had done much more already than many adults I knew. So I thought, this is a huge opportunity that we're missing out on, reaching out to young people to be real actors in this space. So I formed an organization called Reserva, and this is some of our team. It's made up right now of just me and about 50 youth from around the world. This group on the left is in the UK. The group on the right here is in Ecuador. And we are working together to create the world's first entirely youth-funded nature reserve. That was sort of the nugget of the idea. And it was just sort of an idea to prove that young people had financial power, and thought maybe governments would listen to youth more if they took them more seriously. And so we decided to partner up with Rainforest Trust, and we found a site that is in the northwest of Ecuador here, and it's this little black arrow. It is in the Ecuadorian Chocó. So you've probably heard of the Amazon, but west of the Amazon, there is the Andes mountain range, and it contains some of the highest levels of biodiversity in the world. It's also one of the most threatened places in the world. Only about 2% of the lowland Chocó rainforest remains intact, and a little bit more than that of the cloud forest, which is this mountainous ecosystem that goes up higher in elevation. And that is where we have our site. So this is what it looks like. You step in and you are literally inside a cloud. It is lush. There are, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of plants growing on every single tree. The ground that you step on actually moves under your feet because it's not rock, it's not ground, it's just layers and layers of mosses and decomposing materials. It's actually squishy to step on. It's one of the wettest forests in the world. So this is from an expedition that I took in 2019 with one of my youth council members, two of our youth council members, and our partner here. His name is Javier Roballo, and he's the manager for our local in-country partner who will ultimately own and manage this reserve that we are working to fund. So we're holding hands because it's so steep and so slippery, and the edges of the mountain go off so swiftly on either side that we were actually scared of falling off the mountain. So this is our hike up. But this site is really precious because not only because of the amount of vegetation, but also because of the species that live inside it. So it's a biodiversity hotspot, and that means that it has a higher level of life living in it than other places around the world. It has species like this guy. This is called a bolita glossa. It's a lungless tree-living amphibian. It's a salamander. And fun fact, it actually has the fastest tongue in the animal kingdom. It has crazy birds like the cock of the rock. It has beautiful and elusive cats like the ocelot. It has critically endangered animals like this brown-headed spider monkey. It's one of the top 25 most endangered primates in the world. We have the endangered blackened chestnut eagle. We have critically endangered toads and frogs, and many, many new species to science left to be discovered. We find lots of weird things. This was just sitting on my monopod, and we just called it a shrimpy thing. I think it's actually some kind of morph of a leafhopper. But I mean, even the littlest things are so intriguing. And because it's Valentine's Day, I thought that I would. And actually, I don't know if you can hear my audio because I've had issues with that recently, but I'm gonna go ahead and play and see if you can hear it. So this is a male and a female puma on one of our camera traps, and they are sniffing each other out. So you can see the male is marking his territory, and the female is right on his heels. That's just one of the things caught on our camera trap, and these pumas need, huge corridors, huge amounts of land to be able to have wide enough territories to live healthy lives. And so we're really excited to be protecting an area that is big enough to handle that. We also have over 800 species of birds, and this year we started a new program monitoring these bird species so we can not only see what we have, but how healthy are they? Do they have parasites? Are they nesting here? Or are they just coming through? And so the bird on the right here is the clubwing manakin, and you can see this is Javier's hand holding it. So we set up nets, and the bird flies into the net, and then we gently take it out of the net, take measurements of its wings, of its tail length, of its beak, and look at its feathers, and then let it go. And some of them are pretty spectacular like this, like the sword-billed hummingbird on the left, or have crazy red hats, or they're just really, really tiny. This is the smallest bird to live on our site. It's a bronzy hermit. And I just can't stop looking at this picture because it's nearly the size of his thumbnail. But we also have a lot of really cool amphibians. So this was a really neat find. We weren't expecting to find this frog here. It's called the red-spotted glass frog, and we found this one on our first expedition. And then we also have new species. So this frog is called Helocyrtus conscientia, and I'm really excited to say that that's what it is going to be called, because originally when we found it, it didn't have a name. It was a new species to science, and the scientists that discovered it offered us the opportunity to name it. So we opened the opportunity in turn to kids around the world. And this name came out of that competition. We got 627 entries from 36 countries. And the winning entry was Helocyrtus conscientia, which is actually a name provided by an Ecuadorian girl named Carolina Bustillos, who's 19 years old. And she wanted to carry this message forward of consciousness for the planet. So we are going to be publishing that paper very, very soon with this name. Recently, we did another expedition and found the very first record of this frog in the entire province. So it's a really cool kind of black marbly looking frog called Sachitamia orihuela. And we found this one, which is only the second record for the entire country. It's called Boana rubracilla. So these expeditions are, uncovering what the things we don't even know yet about this site. Beyond animals, we have incredible flora. So the way that we identify these sites is actually through our partners' work studying orchids. So they look for areas around Ecuador that have high levels of orchid diversity, and then they use those orchids as bioindicators of more life. They say if there's a high diversity of orchids, there must then be a high diversity of insects that pollinates those orchids, and then there must be a high diversity of things that eats those insects, and it's a chain reaction that that creates that biodiversity hotspot. So this one on the left is most endangered plants in Ecuador. It only exists on this site, and these two on the right are both new species. So the way that we're doing this is by partnering up with Rainforest Trust, and I think what's really incredible is how far your dollar can go, and this is what has made it so fun and easy to work with kids around the world. Just $5 is enough to save an area. So this is actually today's marker. So we still have about $35,000 left to go to raise, and every single dollar of that will be matched by Rainforest Trust. So once this is over, if you'd like to save some rainforests, please go to our website, and there's a link to this page where you can donate. But if that is not something you're able to do right now, as many of us can't, we also started a program to enable all youth everywhere to contribute, regardless of their ability to donate or fundraise or have access to even the internet or to a credit card. We started a campaign called the 1 Million Letters campaign, and we've actually teamed up with National Geographic Campaign for Nature to bring this campaign to the UN and amplify the impact that we're having on the ground at the world stage. This campaign asks kids to write a letter saying what they love about nature and why we should protect it, and then we will promise to match that letter with $3 toward the reserve. So that's enough to protect a classroom-sized area of rainforest. And these letters are coming from all around the world. And I thought that when we launched this campaign, we would just get one-liners or kind of petition-style letters. These are meaningful, thoughtful, long letters, sometimes 2 pages, written from college students or little kids. We even got one that was just a sign that said, "No chainsaws, no bikes." And so this campaign is really exciting, because not only is it allowing us to save land using these matching funds and to empower kids who might not otherwise be able to take direct action to save the planet, but it's also enabled our partner to reach out to other organizations and government entities around Ecuador. So this is, I mentioned earlier, my partner Javier Roballo in Ecuador, and he's taken the Million Letters campaign and made it something that I never even imagined it could be. He has reached out to local governments and gotten them to read the letters written by students and children in their own localities, and they've forged connections with organizations and governments near the reserve to actually strengthen the level of protection at the reserve. They're now looking at creating a community, like a county reserve, sort of a government extra layer of protection. And they recently had sort of a run-in with some mining companies, and the government came up to defend them. And that's all because they were able to use this channel of working with youth to forge new connections. So this isn't a very long presentation, so I just wanted to end it with a really, really short video. And actually, I just remembered we don't necessarily have sound, so I might stop sharing. And Joe, can you just let me know if we do have sound, or if I can add sound?
Come through on the camera trap video.
Okay. Well, this is only a 1-minute video. Do you know how I can turn on sound?
Do you have the video on your computer?
Yes.
Okay. If it's on your computer, there's a new share option if you click that says share a video file. And if you choose that option directly, it'll feed the sound right into the call for us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it might take me 1 second to find it on my computer.
Okay. While you're doing that, I'm going to share a couple links up here for people to dive in.
Okay, thanks.
So, yeah, the first one here is the link to Instagram. So at Reserva YLT, incredible photos. Follow along with Callie's adventures and that of her team, her young and very exciting, very well-spoken, her crew. You can also head to the website. I have that link up there if you want to check it out. If you are so inclined to make a donation. It's amazing how far, $3 to $5 can go, how much land it can protect. And to be within 35,000 of the goal is pretty incredible, Callie.
Yeah, we're really excited because after this, it's not just going to be this one reserve. It's we have plans to make a network of reserves around the world, and we're already working on our next one. So, we're in early development of our next one, but we're going to expand this one first before we move on. And we have an incredible donor partner in the UK that we will be announcing in May.
Awesome.
Who's going to match as many letters as possible. You know what?
Okay.
My internet is not working well enough to. I don't think it's working well enough to share this video, but it is on. It's on our website, and you can find it there. It's called Why Youth with Javier Robayo, and he really just explains why it's important that we start engaging the next generation in conservation action directly. This is why he has allowed us to join his expeditions with inexperienced youth or with with people just kind of on my word that they'll be helpful members of the team. And I'll never forget he had said something when I was interviewing him once. He said, "We cannot spread a message that we don't practice. We cannot spread something we don't really believe. I have a lot of trust in young generations, and we can't go into big meetings and say that we want to involve young people if we don't give that really me." Because I do think it's time to kind of pass the mic and let young people stand up and take action directly. Yeah, so I think I'll just leave it at that. I would definitely encourage everyone to go to our website and check out the field notes. We just returned from an expedition in November, and so we are still slowly posting those field notes day by day. That's one of the rules when we have youth council members on these expeditions. They have to take daily notes and write down what we did, what animals we saw, what kind of the terrain was like, and we photograph it and then we post it all up there so that everyone can join us on this expedition. Are
All
there,
right.
Joe, do you know, are there any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll work some questions in, Callie. First of all, I'm curious, the million letter campaign, do you have a rough idea of how many letters have come in so far? Or if not, maybe a country list. Is it 30, 40? How many countries have taken part so far?
Oh gosh. I actually don't know how many countries we've had so far. Yeah, probably in that range. We have probably 3,000-4,000 letters, somewhere around there right now, but it's not a campaign that we've launched really forcefully yet. And we are just about to launch. Maybe I can say this: we're about to launch it with a partnership in the Philippines with Center for Sustainability Philippines. I know you had KM speaking earlier
Good, we did.
in this program, and so we are teaming up, and we're going to be launching with partners around the world so that we can get voices from local communities, like truly the people who are living on the edges of these wild places. And it's all going to be in support of 30 by 30 to convince governments that they need to step up and protect at least 30% of our planet in the next 10 years, 9 years now.
All right. And you must be, I mean, incredibly proud of some of the young members you have on your team. I know a couple of them were just named Young Explorers with the National Geographic, which is pretty incredible. I know many of them, whether it's championing for sloths or climate change in general, have had huge impact on the global stage. So it must just be so exciting to watch these voices, grow into these mature forces for the planet.
Yeah, it is definitely the we have, and it's been so cool to see how they have forged friendships and worked together to create their own projects. Like you said, we have 2 youth council members who were just named National Geographic Young Explorers. One of them is going to be doing an e-magazine called An Hour in the Deep, where she works with young journalists and promotes eco-journalism around ocean issues in climate science, basically. And then the other is, her name is Lucy Huliston. We also call her the Sloth Queen. I think she's given a couple talks with Exploring by the Sea. And Lucy is actually going to be launching a project under Reserva to engage kids at, younger kids at the elementary school level in the UK. She's going to be doing a series called Change for Strange, where she highlights some of the weird and wonderful life of the UK that kind of gets overlooked, but that makes up the bulk of their biodiversity, especially the insects and the fungi and the plants and things like that. And then teaching kids how to create miniature nature reserves in their schoolyards. So aside from these large reserves that we're helping to create around the world, she is going to be starting a program that helps kids do conservation from the ground up in their yards, in their schoolyards, and create a mini network of these little reserves in England. And hopefully we'll be able to expand that beyond England afterward. So I'm super proud of them. There's a list of all of the youth council websites, and
Okay, looks like we might have lost Callie's connection for.
Shoot!
Callie's back. You were just telling us where to find the list.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, just go. There's a list of youth council members on the website. You can see all of them. One of the things we've done to engage them directly and empower them to take action is made spots on the board of directors at a nonprofit. We wrote into our bylaws that at all times, 30 to 50% of our board has to be youth. So we also have some youth board members. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah, it's cutting out a little bit now, Callie, but you were just saying that you have the bylaw for 30 to 40% to be youth on the board. Oh, I think we lost Callie. We'll give her one more second, see if she can come back for a goodbye. And then we have a really great event coming up next. I can't wait. There's Callie. She's back. Hey, Callie.
Sorry. We've had really bad internet because we just had an ice storm.
Yeah, no worries. Well, Callie, you're doing incredible work. The website's still up there for those if they want to check it out. I will share your Twitter and Instagram handles as well if people do want to check you out and follow. Again, Callie, thank you for the amazing work you do here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. We're all about inspiring that next generation of scientists and explorers, and you are doing it in a very real, very tangible way. So thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me.